Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into silk slippers and following amber light through Istanbul's shadowed alleyways, the air sticky sweet with cardamom, heavy with secrets best whispered after midnight. You know that feeling when your Uber drops you somewhere Google Maps swears doesn't exist. Multiply that by a crescent moon and a sneaking suspicion your shadow just lagged 3 steps behind. Fun fact, Ottoman street lanterns burned sesame oil mixed with crushed pearls. Because why not flex on the dark ages while keeping drunkards from face planting into rose bushes? Too many cobblestones wobble underfoot, each one placed during Suleiman's reign to sabotage invading Venetian heels. Your hand grazes a rusted lantern dangling from a fig branch. Cold metal hums against your palm, vibrating like a forgotten ringtone. Historians still argue whether those lantern patterns warded off jinn or just horny beggars. But right now, the glass feels warmer than it should. Also, that cardamom scent might be 17th century merchants still haggling over spice roots in the afterlife. You unstick your shirt from sweat-damp skin 30 paces ahead. A cluster of locals chant over something steaming. You edge closer. A teapot perched on charcoals exhales stories instead of steam. The crowd parts not for you, but for a stray cat padding toward the liquid murmur. Ottoman legal codes let cats sue humans over property damage, true story. And this one's expression screams, pro bono lawyer, nobody laughs. Your shoe nudges a ceramic shard, it wails like a tea kettle. The crowd freezes. A grandmother materializes, her cheeks tattooed with indigo constellations. She presses a clay cup into your hand. Drink, she croaks, but it's not Turkish. Her tongue clicks the K like castanets. The tea scalds, but tastes older. 8th century nomadic brew, honey fermented in goatskin, steeped with juniper robbed from Genghis Khan's breakfast blend. You try not to gag. Her thumbprint glows faintly on the cup's rim, same as the lantern patterns. 3 men in moth-eaten fezzes start arguing over your left shoulder. Their words jumble, too many consonants elbowing for space. One spits on the ground, the globule hissing against stone. Your brain translates. The lanterned path choose the impatient. Your shirt collar tightens. The grandmother winks with an eyelid that creaks like old parchment. Everyone scatters as a prayer call slices the haze, except it's backward. The muezzin's balcony melts into ivy. Ever heard a sound peel wallpaper? That's Adhan in reverse. Some niche Sufi sect's failed 1803 experiment to sing time sideways. Your cup cracks, leaking resin-thick liquid that crawls toward the humming lantern. A droplet touches iron. The alley warps, stones ripple like piano keys, pressed by invisible fingers. You stumble toward the light source, now dangling above a well. Peering over the edge, you see no water, just your distorted reflection, holding a glowing thread. Ottoman well-wishes required tossing a skein of silk down first, testing the demon's appetite for fast fashion, as one scholar joked before mysteriously retiring. thread tugs. Your grip falters. A rasping chuckle rises from below, mocking, but not unkind. The grandmother's voice echoes. Every lantern eats one truth to stay lit. You'll know yours when it burns. The rusty light gutters. 3 things happen at once. The cat yowls an obscenity. Your shadow lunges for the lantern, and the well exhales a breath that smells like your first grade teacher's perfume. You catch the lantern's chain. It sears your palm, branding a symbol resembling an eye with too many lashes. Sleepwalking through history yet. Don't answer. Just keep moving before the spices in your bloodstream start chanting. Oh, and if your screen's too bright, maybe knock it down a notch. We've got 13,000 words left, and the real weirdness hasn't even coughed yet. Your boot squishes into something unpleasantly ripe beneath the fig tree, because apparently the universe finds your dignity hilarious. The sticky pulp smells like regret and fermented sugar, until you spot the parchment clinging to your soul. Not just any scrap. This thing's older than your unresolved childhood traumas. It peels free with a noise like moist velvet, revealing swirls of ink that squirm under your gaze. Historians love to bicker about Ottoman ciphers. Were they messaging in lemon juice or pigeon hormones? Doesn't matter now. The letters rearrange themselves into words you've never learned. Yet your jaw aches like you've been chewing them for years. Rosewater blooms in your sinuses, sharp enough to override the street's rotting fish stench. Clever trick, that. Sultans used it to mask the reek of unwashed nobles at court, though nothing could hide their lead-based eyeliner meltdowns. Speaking of meltdowns, the parchment disintegrates in your grip now. Flakes spiral downward like ashy snow, patterning the cobblestones with run. That's new. A shadow detaches from the fig's trunk, not cast by anything nearby. It sweeps toward you with the precision of a master calligrapher's stroke. Your knees lock, your lungs rebel. Ever tried sprinting in thigh-high panic? It's all thigh, no sprint. The shadow halts an inch from your toes. Its edge trembles, fraying into smoke that smells of burnt myrrh and gunpowder. Too late for trivia. Your legs finally agree to collaborate. You bolt past clay merchant stalls, their awnings flapping like startled wings, and nearly knee a goat in the spleen. Breath saws through your throat. Behind you, no footsteps, just a low hum you felt once as a kid, pressed against a beehive. A vendor's scale clatters to your left, brass weights rolling toward a sewer grate. Each one plinks into darkness, followed by wet, glottal laughter you'll hear later in half-sleep. Sunlight bruises the horizon as you skid into an alley. 3 truths click into place. 1. Ottoman fig exports once funded entire naval fleets, though this fact won't pay for therapy. 2. The sultans really did use arsenic-laced wallpaper. 3. Your shadow hasn't followed you. It's still back there, petting that damned fig tree. Your lungs burn as you stumble into a square strung with lanterns, their colored glass throwing sickly green light across stacks of porcelain. Each cup gleams like stolen moonlight, those iconic Iznik patterns coiling under your fingertips. You know the ones, 16th century potters crushed quartz with mulberry sap to get that signature ruby red. Pity they never made a help. I'm being stalked by my own shadow dinnerware set. The tea merchant stands frozen behind his stall, hands mid-pour over a copper samovar. His throat's the color of wet ash, pupils blown so wide they swallow the irises whole. You've seen taxidermy squirrels with more vitality. His gaze locks onto yours, then flicks toward a silk palanquin parked by a dry fountain. Your fingers fumble for a coin. Ottoman piasters are heavier than they look, engraved with tugras that loop like nooses. Historians still argue whether the Sultan's personal emblems were mystical sigils or just royal doodles gone viral. The currency clatters onto the counter. Silence. The vendor doesn't blink, but his left pinky twitches, pointing at the palanquin again. Beetles scuttle from his sleeve collar. One carries a tea leaf like a tiny surrender flag. You lean closer, catching a whiff of jasmine under the cloying sweetness. Sultans laced diplomatic brews with opium for negotiating leverage. Palace records mention a French ambassador who traded cannons for a crate of sleepy chamomile. A breeze kicks up, sending cups skittering across the table. They land unbroken. Every single one. Your coin rolls off the edge, dinging against cobblestones in a high-pitched trill that shakes your molars. That sound, you've heard it before. Aged 7, half asleep, watching grandma's wind chimes swing during a storm. The palanquin's curtains ripple. No hand parts them, just a slow billow like something breathing from within. Your shadow chooses that moment to reappear, but it's crawling on all fours, mimicking the beetles. A cough tears from the tea seller's throat, a wet, splintering noise. His jaw unhinges. Out spills a ribbon of steam smelling of bergamot and burnt hair. The vapor curls into a word. Listen. Porcelain shutters, polished surfaces warp, reflecting faces that aren't yours. One cup shows a woman's hands braiding silver threads. Another flashes a bizarre burning under noon sun. A third looks like your reflection, but the eyes keep darting left, following something behind you. The coin's ring rises to a dentist drill whine. You clap hands over ears, too late. Memories flood in. 6th grade history camp. Ms. Kowalski ranting about Ottoman tea rituals, how a state was listed teaspoons as heirlooms, how border disputes were settled with caffeine psychouts. You snort laughed, got detention, not laughing now. The palanquin creaks, your shadow leaps onto its roof, flowing through silk drapes like ink through water. Inside, something thumps, hollow, rhythmic. The vendor collapses behind his stall, joints folding like a dropped marionette. His samovar tips, boiling liquid arcs toward your wrist, and freezes midair. A steaming amber teardrop. You poke it. The droplet shatters, each fragment tinkling like a broken music box. One sliver embeds in your palm. No blood, just cold, the kind that lingers after answering a wrong number at 3 a.m. 5 yards left, the fountain's basin glints. You vault over the merchant's still body because sure, add corpse hopping to today's resume. Coins litter the fountain floor, not piasters, modern quarters, dimes, a euro cent with a dented edge, all ridged with teeth marks. The palanquin lets out a low moan, wood straining against its own joints. Your elbow deep in fountain muck when the laughter returns, that same wet chuckle from the sewer grate. Coins vibrate in your grasp. Their faces warp into visages you've glimpsed in subway windows, strangers who looked too long. Your shadow slithers out from the palanquin, swollen to 3 times its size. It's missing a hand. Where fingers should be, smoke drifts, forming symbols that itch behind your eyes. The vendor's beetles march toward it in formation. You do the math, rogue shadow, unmarked palanquin, broken physics. Time to embrace the third option. The coin in your palm hums. You huck it at the shadow's chest. It passes through, rippling the darkness like a stone tossed in oil. The world inhales sharply, then silence so complete it rings. The vendor's stall lies overturned, palanquin gone, fountain dry. Only a lone teacup remains upright, its bowl filled with liquid that wasn't there before. You peer in, the reflection stares back, but its mouth moves a full second after yours. Next time it says, leave 2 coins. The teacup's reflection blurs as you straighten, its final words still vibrating in your molars. Where the palanquin stood, a stone wall now blocks the alley, studded with iron locks shaped like crescent moons. Ottoman forts used similar symbols in their gate mechanisms, a crescent for every surrendered enemy general. At least, that's what your cousin swore during his failed guided tour business. Your shadow stretches unnaturally long, reaching the wall before you've taken 3 steps. It presses against the cobbles like ink, seeking a crack. Cold metal clicks echo. 99 keyholes glare down, each uniquely etched. One resembles a snarling wolf. Another mimics a helix's DNA strand. Historians still argue whether the Ottomans' crescent motif represented celestial faith or just really committed branding. You count 17 locks crusted with rust. 23 gleam suspiciously clean. The rest flicker. They're then gone like poorly buffered pixels. Your shadow's fingers elongate, probing a lock shaped like a backwards S. It hisses. The iron glows white-hot. A tendril of smoke snakes up, coiling into a date. 1453. Constantinople's fall. Convenient. A breeze gusts, smelling of gunpowder and spoiled rosewater. Your shadow recoils. Its left arm detaches, fluttering to the ground like scorched parchment. You reach to grab it, bad move. The detached shadow fragment lashes out, slicing your palm. Blood hits the wall. The locks drink it hungrily. 99 clicks syncopate, a metallic rhythm that shakes loose memories of 8th grade piano recitals. Each keyhole extrudes a broken key. Some snapped, others melted. One's a toothpick-sized sliver. You squint. Recognize the tooth-marked euro sent from the fountain. Your shadow reassembles taller now, more anatomical. Its new fingers end in filigree hooks, straining toward your chest. You backpedal. Cobblestones squelch underfoot. Since when did Istanbul alleys have marshland undertones? The shadow lunges. Cold pierces your sternum, a sensation best described as mosquito needle meets ice pick. You glance down. Smoke coils where its hand disappears into your ribs. 5 phantom digits flex inside your lung cavity. Your breath hitches, and it withdraws a tarnished key from your chest. No blood, just a lingering chill like subway platform drafts. The key's bow holds a tiny inscription, Memphis, 1918. Odd. The Ottomans lost Egypt 4 centuries earlier. You try speaking. Your voice emerges double-tracked, your normal tone, plus a gravelly imitation. What's the exchange rate on stolen organs these days? The shadow smirks. At least, its smoke trail mouth mimics the expression. It inserts the key into a lock shaped like a hanging tulip. The Ottoman Empire's unofficial floral mascot. Gardeners used to breed blooms that mimicked sultans' signatures, until a scandal involving poisoned pollen. The lock resists. The shadow rams the key harder, shoulder-checking the wall. Stone groans. Dust rains down. Centuries-old mortar remembers being brick, mutters curses in granular Turkish. You rub your sternum, still phantom sore. Maybe try jiggling it. The shadow flips you off with a smoke-formed middle finger. Classic. A high-pitched clink cuts the air. The tulip lock splits, open petals peeling back to reveal a hollow buzzing with wasps. They spill out, forming shimmering Ottoman calligraphy. Midair, the script dissolves before you can parse it, but not before you catch a phrase. Rendezvous at the sundial. Your shadow bows mockingly, then dissolves. The fallen keys disintegrate, each becoming a scarab that scuttles into cracks. The wall itself shudders, transparent for a heartbeat, revealing an orchard of fossilized lemon trees beyond. Their branches hold cocoons that pulse fitfully. You step through cold stone. It parts like freezer burn mist. Behind you, 83 locks remain. Ahead, a path lined with headless statues, each holding their marble skulls like overdue library books. Your ribs ache where the key was taken. You check your shirt, no hole. Just 3 parallel scratches glowing faintly. They itch. Of course they itch. Somewhere, a clock tower chimes. Not the crunchy mechanic rhythm of Galata. This tune's all sharps and minors. Your shadow reforms ahead, beckoning with its hook fingers. You follow past a thorn bush growing pocket watches instead of berries. One ticks in your ear. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The statues turn their skulls to watch you pass, teeth chattering Morse code. You catch 2 letters, V and R. The rest gets drowned out by your own pulse. Your shadow halts at a dry well. It points down. You lean over the rim and recoil. The scent of fresh baklava wafts up. Since when do abandoned wells smell like dessert buffets? A voice echoes below, sweet as syrup-cut figs. 98 to go. The world tilts, or maybe you do. When vision steadies, the wall's gone. So's the orchard. You're back in the lantern-strung square. But every cup in the vendor's stall now holds a key instead of tea. The teacup key chimes a shrill ping that startles a pigeon mid-croissant theft. Your shadow vibrates like plucked wire, flinching from the stall's new inventory. 73 keys now float in mint tea, except one. A copper outlier spins counterclockwise in a demi-tasse, humming the intro to smells like teen spirit. A gear grind whir ruptures the air. You duck, just as a clockwork nightingale dive bombs your left ear. It perches on a hookah's tarnished spire, winding its own key with a talon. Ottoman sultans adored automata. Legend claims maimed I kept a mechanical orchestra that played by dropping marbles on instruments. The bird's brass throat clicks. Out spills a rhyme in raspy falsetto. Sundered crowns sink in honeyed tides. Seek the hive where the vizier hides. Its left eye, a cracked opal, fixes on you. One wing hangs askew, revealing a maker's mark, HB 1602. Historians still bicker whether that's Haggap of Bursa or just Habsburg bootleggers. The nightingale coughs, sprockets spitting black oil that congeals into a tiny scroll. You unfurl it, smudged ink sketches a dagger dripping honeycomb. A footnote scribbles, 82% fatality rate among Suleiman's apiary guards. Thanks for the random stats, you mutter. The bird tilts its head, chirping what sounds like a dial-up modem tone. Its mangled melody swerves into Fouer Elise. Wrong era. Wrong vibe. Your shadow tugs your sleeve toward an archway choked with ivy. The ivy hisses, recoiling from your glowing rib scratches. Past the vines, a courtyard where fountains spew molasses-thick honey. Flies glitter like cursed confetti. Careful, they bite, rasps a voice. A vendor materializes behind a honey stall, his face veiled in muslin. You recognize the rosewater stench from the haunted parchment. He slides forward a clay pot. 5 acts. What's in it? Antidote. For when you drink the honey, why would anyone, why indeed? He chuckles, a sound like dice in a cup. Did you know Renaissance Europe craved Ottoman bezoar stones? Ground them into poison cures. His fingers twitch. This, better, contains 7% crushed nightingale gears. You glance back, the clockwork birds now duetting with a frog in the fountain, a jazz improv atrocity. The vendor leans closer. They'll offer you a throne swimming in honey. Decline, unless you fancy dissolving like sugar. Who's they? The muslin quivers. The ones who'll call you Kism. Means my daughter. Means nothing. He seizes your wrist, ice cold even through fabric. Look, listen. Then a honey glob slams onto the stall, shattering pottery. The vendor vanishes. So does the frog's rhythm section. Your shadow jerks your chin upward. A velvet curtain billows from a 3rd-story window, silhouetted figures arguing behind its crimson weave. One shape leans out, scattering pages that spiral down like maple seeds. You catch one. It's a tax record. Dated 1599. 300 jars of Thracian ambrosia shipped to Vienna. Margin note. Phase 2 trials unsatisfactory. Subjects exhibited liquefaction. The nightingale crash lands on your shoulder, oil staining your collar. Its song fractures into Morse code. Dash dot dash. RUN. Molasses fountains bubble faster. Honey creeps up your boots, gluing you to cobblestones that now resemble amber. Your shadow saws at the goo with its hook fingers, sparking flints of desperation. The curtain twitches again. A hand emerges skeletal, clutching a honey dipper. It points east. Somewhere a key twists, the sound unmistakable. Your rib scratches flare electric blue. The honey retreats, but takes your left shoelace hostage. You leave it behind like a breadcrumb. The nightingale shrieks, its gears seizing as honey engulfs it. One final warble. Sovereigns drown where sweet and crown then silence. A single gear pops loose, bouncing into the gutter. Your shadow grabs it, revealing etched coordinates. 41,0086 degrees N, 28, 9,800 degrees E. Doesn't help if I don't have GPS. You snap. The gear transforms, molten brass reshaping into a spoon. A test nibble reveals it's 90% copper. Tastes like regret and battery acid. Above, the velvet curtain stills, the skeletal hand, now dangling a lantern. Its light paints a path through suddenly silent streets, toward a bridge where the honey flows uphill. The bridge arches over nothing, its cobbles defying gravity as honey slithers upward into void. Your shadow grips the rail, knuckles whitening. Can shadows whiten? As the spoon-shaped gear burns your palm. Ahead, starlight condenses into threads, each strand humming like plucked neurons. An olden woman materializes, bare feet weaving through her own loom. Her shuttle glints with hackneyed diamond brilliance. Ottoman weavers once spun threads so fine, sultans wore them as eclipse-viewing veils. This ain't that. Lost, her voice crackles cellophane over flame. Just, you gesture at the inverted honeyfall, redecorating. Her laugh unravels into cuneiform symbols. The loom pulses, reshaping the street behind you into Constantinople, no. Istanbul, no. A tangle of both. Maps bleed. You'll need better bandages. She plucks a comet's tail, spinning it into twine that knots itself around your wrist. The coil glows with stolen street lamp hues. 17th century Turkish navigators used catgut compasses, though experts debate whether they actually worked or just made sailors less panicky. Follow the lick, she instructs, tapping your earlobe. A thread snakes into your ear canal, tuning your hearing to faint. Wet clicks. Your breath. 13 hours from now, that's the needle. You blink, suddenly tasting copper and lemongrass. What if I don't want? She smirks, cracks fissuring her cheeks. Dust, motes escape. Cravings the compass, schism, always points to indigestion. Her loom shudders, stitching alleyways into Möbius strips. The thread in your ear tugs, yanking you sideways into a spliced moment. A bazaar where figs scream when peeled. A mosque dome built from wishbones. A harbor where ships dock in their own wakes. You snap back gasping. The weaver holds a compass needle between her teeth, glistening with saliva. Breath stealer's fee. She spits it into your palm, still warm. Historians still argue whether the Ottomans' liquid maps were metaphors or literal cocktails drunk by admirals. This feels neither. The needle floats, aiming east-northeast. Her loom rattles, answering a question you haven't asked. Street corners have kidneys. Cleanse them with rose vinegar. Ask the lynx. What lynx? The weaver gestures to your shadow, now shaped like a bristle-tailed feline. It licks a paw, rasping the cobbles into dust. Enjoy the cirrhosis, she says, fading into spider silk. The needle twitches, gnawing your lifeline like a termite. You pocket it, ignoring the digestive metaphor. The honey bridge creaks, one cobble detaching to become a scarab. It flies directly into your open mouth. You gag, spitting out half a wing. Tastes like burnt baklava. The shadow lynx purrs loudly. Not helpful, you croak, as the last cobble dissolves into a puddle of maps. Above, a 7-starred constellation winks, arranged exactly like Suleiman's birthmark. Or was it a coffee stain? Records from Edirne disagree. The needle drags you forward, each step compressing 3 streets into one. A tea shop folds itself into a hat. A muezzin's cry glitches into whale song. You pinch yourself, still awake, unfortunately. Something crunches underfoot. A toy soldier, ceramic, mid-19th century. Its painted face, yours. The lynx bats it into a storm drain, clang echoing like a dinner bell. From the depths, a voice gargles. Wrong empire, sugar plum. Fantastic, you mutter, stepping over a gutter flowing with alphabet soup. The needle tugs harder, pulse syncing with your aorta. Wind carries cinnamon and static. A door materializes, grains swirling like Van Gogh's Starry Night. The knob, a human molar. You hesitate. The lynx headbutts your calf, drawing blood. I'm going. The molar knob chatters, spitting out a riddle. Wept by schemers, drunk by dreamers, sharper than a tulip sigh. The needle stabs your thumb, answer arriving telepathically. Yup, regret, classic. The door swings open, revealing a desert where dunes crawl like caterpillars. The lynx sneezes sand, your turn to purr. The compass needle melts, emerging as a tattoo on your wrist. It prickles when you inhale, itchier when lying. Your mid-scratch when the dunes part, spilling forth a caravan of sheep. No, pillows, gigantic, embroidered cushions, ambling on spindly goat legs. One pillow bares its teeth, a mouth full of shish kebab skewers. The lynx hisses, arch-backed. You sigh, here we go again. The skewer-mouthed pillow charges. You dive right as its tassels burst into wasps. Goat-legged cushions stampede, embroidered roses unraveling into actual thorns. Your shadow lynx swats a wandering cushion, fluff exploding into moth wings, that sing Ottoman marching hymns. 16th century janissaries used these melodies for sync. Historians still argue whether it boosted morale or just annoyed enemies. Gravity hiccups again. Your stomach lurches the sand below, now rippling like water. No, it is water. A river arcs upward, silver and viscous, smothering the pillow army mid-snarl. Boots sink into liquid sky, cold seeping through leather seams, though the desert sun still pricks your neck. Suleiman's engineers tried this once. The lynx licks a floating droplet, its tongue freezing mid-curl. Constantinople's inverted aqueduct took 3,000 barrels of honey and a very confused saint. You wobble knee-deep in defiance of physics. Bubbles rise downward. One pops against your cheek, scented like aged parchment. Beneath the upside-down current, shadows dart. A face breaches the surface, or whatever passes for surface here, mouth stretched around silent words. Frost blooms on your sleeves where its breath hits. That's new, you mutter, flicking ice shards into the sky. They spiral back up, embedding in the riverbed sand like tiny spears. The drowned architect, folklore claims he designed Suleiman's doomed floating palace, presses a translucent hand to the liquid divide. His fingertips etch glowing symbols, thirst backwards, follow the dry. You smirk, cryptic, butt points for presentation. The lynx sneezes, dislodging a clump of frozen river sludge. It morphs midair into a miniature galley ship, sails flapping limply. Cute, useless, but cute. A gurgling roar shakes the suspended river. The architect's face contorts, features melting like wax. His final glyph pulses. Hide. Too late. The current thickens, grabbing your ankles with invisible hands. You're dragged face first into the inversion. Water floods your nostrils, except it's not wet. Dry, chalky. Ah, you're breathing powdered marble. Coughing, you stagger upriver into a grotto of floating debris, a janissary helmet cradling live carp. A love letter dissolving into saffron threads. Half a minaret, rotating lazily, its severed end oozing music box gears. The lynx perches on a drifting prayer rug, fur sparking static. 18th century rumor. Sultan Mustafa III stored his nightmares in a Bosphorus lighthouse. This might be the down payment. Your compass tattoo burns, its needle now pointing at your own sternum. Helpful. Voices hum through the marble dust, a chorus of feminine laughter. 3 women materialize, seated mid-current, as if lounging on divans. Their isnad necklaces glow chains of historical validity. Sweet girl croons the first, her henna'd hands sorting pomegranate seeds. Why intrude on flooded things? The second blows dandelion fluff, each seed spinning into a screaming comet. The third offers a cup. Drink, she insists, smile sharper than a dragoman's quill. Taste Murad Ivy's favorite, mastic gum and pickled raven hearts. You decline politely or try. Your throat's coated in dust. The lynx swats the cup, it shatters into porcelain songbirds. Clink, clink, wrong. third woman's smile widens, revealing teeth filed into cuneiform. Clever cat, but he'll need to sacrifice better lies soon. Your tattoo itches violently. Scratching reveals new text along the needle. Leap when the drowned laugh twice. As if cued, the architect's muffled chuckle echoes, once from your left, once inside your ribcage. You jump backward, plunging into the river's underbelly. Free fall through honeycomb tunnels. Walls whisper intercepted letters between crusaders and courtesans. A gloved hand catches your collar, yanking you sideways into a rowboat. Your rescuer, a shirtless scribe dipped head to toe in indigo dye. Don't thank me, he rasps, rowing with a pen-like oar. Thank the 82nd law of Ottoman aquanautics. All idiots deserve one free rescue. Behind him, the river convulses, spitting out a horse-sized eel with human molars, the scribe sighs. Ah, skip dinner service again, did we? The eel roars, its breath reeking of oversteeped say. You grab the oar, snapping it mid-swing. Ink sprays, forming a temporary barrier of floating trigrams. The scribe gapes. That was a 200-year-old nib. Complain later. You steer toward a pulsing red light, the compass needle's true north. The eel breaches, landing in the boat. The scribe screams, high-pitched. The lynx yawns. You swing the broken oar hilt, wedging it in the eel's gills. It thrashes, capsizing all three of you into sand. Hot, mundane, blessedly unmagic. The river's gone, replaced by dunes stretching into twilight. The scribe coughs up salt water and curses. The lynx shakes itself dry, spattering your face with indigo droplets. Your exit, the scribe grumbles, pointing at a sandstone archway. Carved words arch overhead. All gravity a suggestion. The compass tattoo migrates, now pulsing behind your left ear. You toss the scribe a coin from your pocket. He sniffs it. 1583 mint. A decent vintage. As you walk away, he calls out, "Tell the next tavern you robbed the eel story from me." It's funnier with a Karaman twist. The lynx snorts. Dunes give way to packed earth, then weathered cobbles. Wind carries the distant clang of a blacksmith, or maybe a very angry tea kettle. Your shadow stretches, now shaped like an eel's skeleton. It points northeast. Great, you mutter, stepping over a fossilized raisin. Whole new brand of creepy. Black wings carve slow circles overhead. 7 vultures riding thermal drafts like crooked kites. Their shadows contract as you kneel, the dry well's rim biting into your palms. Historians love debating whether Ottoman sultans used trained raptors for messaging, or just enjoyed watching things spiral downward. The well exhales, a stale breath of powdered clay and myrrh. Your shadow eel thrashes, its bony tail knocking a pebble into the void. No splash, just a hollow tick, 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 as if counting your pulse. Trade your loudest silence. Rasps the voice below, each word crinkling like aged parchment for the weightless answer. You snort. Tried that with my aunt's lentil soup recipe. Still waiting. The vultures croak in unison, a sound like wet hinges. One dive ease, snatching your left shoelace midair. It soars upward, the lace unraveling into a shimmering thread. Ottoman diviners once read fortunes in yarn patterns. Shame yours, currently spells precarious. The well groans. A hand thrusts upward skeletal, draped in rotting silk. Its index finger taps twice on the stone. A poppy blooms from the crack, petals vibrating with subbass. Fine, you mutter, plucking the flower. But if this triggers another moth-acalypse, silence isn't just not speaking. It's the gaps between street vendor calls. The pause before a fox pounces. You bundle yours, the hush from childhood library finds, the breath held during your first kiss, the midnight you didn't scream when the attic floorboards creaked. The vultures lean in, beaks parted. The hand snaps its fingers. Your collected quiet rushes out, condensing into a marble that clatters down the well. A beat. Two. Then something floats up. A soap bubble reflecting distorted scenes. A crescent moon over Hagia Sophia. A baker burning his thumb on simmet dough. Selim eyes missing beard, comb lodged in a Corinthian olive tree. Cryptic much. You poke the bubble, it pops, leaving your palm slick with rose oil. The hand retreats, taking the poppy with it. Your tongue stiffens, numbness spreading like Novocaine. You try to curse. Only a moth escapes, wings dusted with syllables. 7 thuds above. The vultures drop gifts. A knucklebone dice, a tuft of horsehair, a desiccated fig, 3 clock hands, a glass eye, a toothpick snapped into an L shape, and finally your shoelace, reknotted with 99 microscopic hitches. The lynx bats the glass eye, it rolls into the well. A wet smack echoes. 18th century sailors thought swallowing marble cured cowardice. It muses. Results mixed. You pocket the fig. Dry spells ruined Ottoman harvests for 7 years once. Peasants survived on pickled crow. Or so chroniclers claim. Your shadow wheel coils around the well, hissing at the toothpick. The numbness hits your lips now. Not ideal. You snap the knucklebone dice. They land, showing 3 and 5. The lynx sneezes, dislodging a scrap of papyrus stuck in its fur. To reclaim speech, seek the rooster that crows backward. Bring mustard seeds and a lie you've forgiven. The vultures lift off, wing beats syncopated. Your shadow peels away, slithering after them into the amber dusk. You stand, knees popping. The well's rim crumbles where you gripped it. 3 pottery shards jut upward, glazed with ibis motifs. Midwives in Bursa once buried placenta under ibis tiles for luck. Your luck feels negotiable. The lynx licks your numb cheek, tongue catching on chapped skin. Next time, it purrs, maybe stick to interpretive dance for bargains. Dust devils spiral westward. You follow mouth full of unspoken words. They taste like burnt honey and the static between radio stations. Somewhere ahead, a rooster crows. Or maybe it's just a tea kettle finally boiling over. Dust settles as you enter, a vaulted chamber smelling of vellum and wet chalk. No titles grace the spines, just jagged rows of teeth clacking in unison. Ottoman scribes once guarded their libraries with honey-tipped arrows. An actual payroll record from 1583 lists 3 jars for book glue, 1 for silencing mice. Your shadow hesitates at the threshold. Can shadows get paper cuts? A tome near your elbow snaps open, molars grinding against its own pages. Inside, blank sheets imprinted with smudges identical to your thumbprint. You've left calling cards on doorknobs and steamed mirrors. But literary break-ins are new. The air tastes alphabet adjacent, like licking a dictionary's spine. You flip pages faster. Ink pools beneath your nails. In 391 AD, Christian riots torched Alexandria's library. Historians still argue whether it was religious fervor or a really bad year for late fees. Something pricks your index finger. A footnote blooms crimson at the page's edge. The reader is now appendix. Your knuckles sprout tiny accession numbers. A distant shelf rattles, scrolls whispering in extinct Ubik. It's 81 consonants perfect for hissing secrets. Great, you mumble words dissolving into paper clips that clatter to the floor. Appendix B items are usually mildew or slave census tables. Silverfish cascade from the ceiling, each wearing a hat woven from tea stains. One nibbles your newly numbered thumb. Medieval monks cursed book thieves with boils. But this feels more passive-aggressive. A ledger slithers off a desk, opening to a sketch of your face labeled temporary archival material. Your left pinky becomes translucent. You try to scribble a protest. The quill digs into wood grain, carving unfair in Georgian Mkedrili script. Footsteps echo, except it's just pages turning in unison. The ceiling yawns open, revealing a mosaic of fragmented letters. A loose cue tumbles down, bouncing off your forehead. You pocket it. Future, you might need a spare. That poplar paneling looks suspiciously fresh. Ottomans imported Baltic timber for elite libraries, then pretended it was local cypress to impress rivals. Rot starts creeping up the shelves, but the books chew through it, splinters crunching like sugar cubes. Your knees creak as you kneel. Appendix designations do wonders for flexibility. The silverfish form a conga line toward an exit that wasn't there before. You follow, stepping over papyrus shreds that curl into fetal commas. Sunlight pierces the gloom too late. Your right ear's margin shrinks, text winding around the helix. By the time you reach the archway, 9 freckles have turned into asterisks. The footnote winks from your collarbone. Somewhere behind you, a book belches. Can't win 'em all. Moonlight braids itself into a melody you recognize, or might once dreamed. It pulls like thread through a needle's eye, drawing you toward a hooded figure, plucking a crescent-shaped zither. 12 strings shimmer, silk gleaming like spiderwebs after rain. The 13th glints differently, coarser, darker, a strand of human hair stretched taut. You smell oud resin and pomegranate molasses. Ottoman court musicians used silk strings for compositions, called peshrev, ceremonial preludes meant to quiet rowdy diplomats. This tune feels sneakier. Your shoelaces knot themselves in time with the rhythm. Nice harp, you mutter. The nearest string vibrates, a high C sharp stinging your molars. This is a canon, comes the reply, voice dustier than hieroglyphic lint, and you're standing on my last good nerve. A fingernail taps the hairstring. Legends claim Ottoman spies used horsehair strings to send coded messages, plucked vibrations, transmitting secrets across battlements. You doubt this is that kind of tutorial. The melody loops, a lullaby spliced with lottery numbers. Your scalp prickles, 17th century treatises warned about musical alopecia when musicians botched high notes. You're pretty sure that's nonsense until a strand near your temple tugs free. Historians still argue whether the sultans preferred silk for its tone or because it annoyed the Venetian traders who sold it. The player's hood tilts, slatted moonlight revealing a face as androgynous as a coin flip. Care to wager? You step closer. Mistake. The cannon's soundbox amplifies your heartbeat, a bass line syncing with the silk strings. The hairstring thrums in dissonance. Street cats start yowling 3 alleys over. 12 strings sing. The musician croons. 1 screams. Guess which? The answer arrives as seismic as a dropped anvil. The hairstring snaps, slicing your cheek with a filament so fine, the blood beads like mercury. Your skull hums like a plucked wineglass. Somewhere, a woman you've never met forgets your birthday. Silver glints on the cobbles. You bend to retrieve it, a hairpin shaped like a lyre. Backgammon gamblers in Smyrna once used these to cheat, embedding lodestones for magnetic dice. This one's cold as a tax collector's smile. Replace what you've stolen, the figure hisses. Borrowed, you correct, already backing away. Your shadow stretches 6 paces ahead until the cannon screeches, yanking it back into alignment. The remaining hairstring quivers, levitating toward your head like a divining rod. 3 streets melt into a blind alley. Your left ear starts ringing in Ottoman military marching cadence. You check a rain barrel's reflection, 6 more hairs gone. First kernels, now follicular conscription. The cannon player materializes atop a crumbling minaret. Instrument, now the size of a siege weapon. Silk strings could hold a bridge together during earthquakes. Hair holds only grudges. Ever heard a scalp serenade? The question echoes through your molars. It's a duet. You lob the hairpin like a dagger. It strikes true, embedding in the soundboard with a dissonant twang. 13 strings shriek in unison. The minaret topples not into rubble, but origami cranes. Breathless, you inspect the damage. A bald patch now ornaments your crown, smooth as a boiled egg. The remaining hair regrows at visible speed, chestnut strands sprouting like sped-up wheat. Unfortunately, they're singing. A single note, F minor, if you had to guess, vibrates from every follicle. Pigeons scatter. Your shadow cringes. 2 passers-by pause, then cross themselves in unison. The canon lies shattered nearby, except for that damned hairstring. It slithers into your sleeve, nestling against the pulse point. You've tangled with cursed artifacts before haunted hairpins, sentient wigs from Versailles. But this, personal, dawn bleeds across the rooftops. The canon player's cloak lies empty, save for a scroll case labeled for the follically defiant. Inside, sheet music inked with your DNA's helix pattern. Scales prickle your arms. Historians still argue whether Ibrahim the Mad's famed lullaby for 40 bald viziers caused or cured their hair loss. Your new do suggests a bit of both. The hairstring loops your wrist, a reminder that strings pull both ways. You hum a G flat. Somewhere, a silk thread snaps in retaliation. The fountain's basin glows milky green, like absinthe left in a diplomat's teacup. Coins wink up from its depths, each stamped with profiles of strangers you've met only in airport daydreams. Your throat still hums that cursed F minor, but the fountain's gurgle syncs with it, turning dissonance into something almost harmonic. 17th century treaties were often signed near water sources. The 1699 Peace of Karlowitz, negotiated beside the Danube because delegates kept threatening to drown each other's translators. You trace a coin's edge, Louis XIV's. Nose feels sharper than history books claimed. A drop lands on your wrist. Transparent, yet it stains the cobble's crimson where it falls. Ottoman couriers allegedly used lemon juice as invisible ink until a sultan's tears accidentally revealed an assassin's name. You lean closer, your reflection has too many teeth. Thirsty, asks the water. Its voice bubbles like a drowning apology. The coin trembles in your palm. Words appear drink to know what you've bargained away. Historians still argue whether Suleiman the Magnificent's infamous memory loss stemmed from poisoned sherbet or a fountain like this. You hesitate. Your shadow doesn't. It lunges face first into the basin. Cold stings your lips before you decide to sip. The water tastes of clock grease and peonies. Your tongue goes numb, then your left earlobe. A memory unravels. The calico cat who slept on your childhood pillow. Its name dissolves mid-purr, leaving only the scar where it scratched your knee. Coins shift below. Faces now include your third-grade teacher and that barista who always misspelled your name. Their metal eyes blink. You spit, but the aftertaste lingers, blood flooding your gums like you've bitten a tinfoil hymn book. A wet cough rattles your ribs. The fountain's rim sprouts sundial markings. Your spit hitches a ride down the drain somewhere. A well screams. Legends say Istanbul's ancient cisterns imprisoned jinns who failed arithmetic. Their ledger books float to the surface here. Ink bleeding into offers no sober mind would consider. Your missing cat's name floats by marmalade. Mithril, gone in its place, an iridescent scum coating your molars. You scrub your tongue with a sleeve. Big mistake. The fabric unravels, threads spelling out apologies in Aramaic. Second, sips cheaper, gurgles the fountain, discount for repeat amnesiacs. A coin sticks to your palm Victoria era, but the Queen's portrait wears your sleep paralysis demon's leer. You flick it. The water retaliates, soaking your socks with liquid that reeks of betrayal and burnt hair. Ottoman naval maps labeled uncharted waters, with here be Italian recipes. This fountain's legend would read here be refund requests. Shadows congeal around the basin. The coins chant in pig Latin. Your knees buckle not from thirst, but the sudden weight of all the lies you've swallowed since breakfast. A drop leaks from your left eye. It sinks instead of falls, joining the submerged treasury of bad decisions. When you blink, the fountain's gone, replaced by a puddle reflecting a calico cat's tail. Your throat still tastes of blood and unsent love letters. Somewhere, a diplomat signs a treaty in lemon juice ink, unaware his tears will betray him by dawn. The cobblestones squirm beneath your soles, another memory. No, they're actually writhing now, rearranging themselves into a path that ends at a weathered oak door. Its surface thrums, not with magic, but with the exact rhythm thumping in your left eardrum. Ottoman carpenters often embedded horsehair in doors to repel termites. But these grooves pulse like exposed veins. You touch the wood, your heartbeat skips, the door skips a thump in perfect unison. A brass knob shaped like a sternum turns slowly without your hand moving. 17th century plague wards used similar breathlocks. Patients exhaled into tubes to prove they still could. This one hisses. 9 exhaled seconds, or 9 centuries. Your lungs quiver. The last time you held your breath this long was avoiding Aunt Marta's sauerkraut stories. You suck air, the door inhales too, bowing inward like a ribcage. Exhale, 1,000, 1,000. The wood fogs where your forehead presses. 16th century Venetians sold truth mirrors that aged the viewer's reflection until the Inquisition declared them heresy. A shape forms in the condensation, you at 90, mouthing turn back through gums, blackened by unspoken truths. 3,1,004. Your reflection regresses. Teenage, you flips a middle finger at the process. 5. The knob digs into your palm. Ottoman viziers reportedly hid treasonous letters in mechanical handles. But this one's mechanism clicks like a molar cavity. 6. A baby's wail echoes through the grain. Is that your birth cry or the door's mockery? 7. The wood sprouts splinters that perfectly match your fingerprints. 8. Historians still argue whether Topkapi Palace's gate of salutation caused dizziness through architecture or built up flatulence from guard diets. 9. The door swings wide. Air evacuates your lungs, along with the memory of your 3rd birthday. Mirrors coat the octagonal room, each reflecting a different age. Current, you rubs an itch. Toddler, you scratches too, but finds gold coins instead of eczema. Your skeleton vibrates. Medieval wind chimes made from human ribs once hung in Edirne's mosques. This clatter feels personal. Welcome to compounding regrets, says your 30-year-old reflection, plucking gray hairs that manifest as harp strings. Interest rates here are murder. Their smile reveals a missing premolar. Yours twinges in sympathy. You step closer. All mirror selves retreat except the eldest, who lunges at the glass. Wrinkled hands mime locking a box, then dissolve into scarab beetles. A vanity table appears. Its comb drags through your hair without permission, braiding strands into a language your scalp recognizes, but your tongue doesn't. Ottoman spy networks used braided codes. The harem's stylists doubled as cryptographers. Your follicles tingle. The comb deposits a pearl in your palm. Squint, it's a miniature version of Hagia Sophia, or maybe a bladder stone. Your reflection chain smokes hourglasses in the largest mirror. They reopened the hippodrome last Tuesday. It croaks, ashes forming the word liar. Smoke tendrils outline a scene, you pocketing silverware from that Anatolian wedding. Relax, Theodosius. Obelisk has stolen more. It wheezes, decades dropping off its face like leeches. 12-year-old, you mouth breaths against the glass, fogging up your failings. The floor creaks, not underfoot, but ahead of your steps. Baby oil oozes between floorboards. You skid toward a mirror showing your conception, tactfully fogged. A grandfather clock ticks. Instead of hands, it has femurs. Your reflection at 25 snarls. Suleiman's astronomers mapped supernovas as Alice Dandruff. You called yours burnout. Hollow footsteps approach. All reflections snap toward the doorway. The oak now appears miles away. A temp agency faxes you an evacuation notice. Your earlobe wrinkles like it's reading. 8-year-old, you balls up a fistful of seconds and chucks it at a mirror. The glass doesn't break, but the hall shrinks. You sprint. 70-year-old you yells through a tracheotomy hole. Check your shoes. Too late, the laces knot themselves around ankles that aren't yours. 19th century Smyrna shoemakers wove hidden threats into boots. Poetic curses about blisters and cowardice. You faceplint into a mirror, it ripples like the fountain's water. The impact mints a new cavity. Last one outs a haunted Iwin. Shrieks teen you, lobbing a molar at the ceiling. Plaster rains down as Ottoman as the room collapses, literally. Load-bearing columns snap into javelins of blue-tiled debris. You dive through the disintegrating door jamb and eat cobblestone. The alley's back, -2 shoe soles, and the ability to recall your mother's maiden name. A beetle crawls from your sleeve, dragging a thread of grandmotherly advice. Your shadow's doing jazz hands. Somewhere, a janitor sweeps up mirror shards containing your best lies. The door, reduced to sawdust, sighing in the breeze. All that thrums now is your hollow tooth, playing creep on a microscopic xylophone. The alley's cobblestones still cling to your knees until a floral draft lifts you upright. Petals spiral down like manicure clippings, each thornless stem avoiding your pulse points. Ottoman sultans prized Damascus roses for their soporific scent. But these blooms glow like embers in a forge. One brushes your wrist, its petal serrations snap shut with the sound of a locket closing. Your arm weighs 17 pounds heavier. A gravel path appears beneath your shredded soles. 16th century anchorites buried themselves in walled gardens to grow prayers. Their tomato stakes became famous among Istanbul's nihilists. This garden's walls loom ahead, bricks oozing mortar that smells of burnt honey and nurse uniforms. You touch the ooze. It solidifies into braille. She watered regrets here. Roses flank the path, crimson ones recoil from your shadow, while ivory blossoms lean in, sniffing for secrets. Your mom's laugh bubbles up from nowhere, half remembered, like a song's outro. Historians still argue whether Suleimani mosques' famed rose bushes were pruned for piety, or to hide eavesdropping scribes. A thorn grazes your earlobe. It flinches away upon tasting your blood type. Soil crunches behind you. The gardener materializes. His fingernails curl like fiddleheads. Shovel blade stained with what might be squid ink or old vows. Dirt cascades from his eyelids. Ottoman agronomists once grafted apple branches onto cypress trunks, creating trees that fruited coffins. He tilts his head. A pebble dislodges from his ear canal. Choose the bloom holding your mother's laughter, he rasps, voice mulch thick. But mind the cost. Some mirth needs pruning. His trowel points to a bush with translucent petals. Inside, each flower floats a syllable from your childhood. One pulses with the timbre of her snort laugh during Casablanca. You reach. The nearest thorn contorts to avoid your ring finger. 14th century Persian manuscripts describe roses that bled when nobles lied. But these thorns have better manners. A petal detaches, landing in your palm as a prism. It refracts light into a memory. Mom doubling over at your dad's burnt toast impression. The image curdles, replaced by her hospital chuckle, 6 weeks pre-funeral. The gardener sneezes, a chrysalis shoots from his nostril. Hurry now, he mumbles, wiping soil mucus on his overalls. Roots despise indecision. You glance at a rose the color of dried scabs. Its center vibrates, the exact pitch of her whispering "I'm fine" through morphine grit. A tendril snakes around your pinky, gentle as a nurse taking vitals. Pluck it. Ottoman herbalists used rosehip syrup to sweeten betrayal confessions. This might liquefy the memory entirely. Another bloom quivers. Inside, her raucous guffaw at your kindergarten sword fight with baguettes. The gardener sighs. Crinoline snails spill from his sleeves. They're clustering around your hesitation. He warns. Roses gossip worse than bathhouse aunties. Your shadow prods a bud with its toe. The flower unfurls, releasing a carbonated ha-ha-ha that startles a nearby owl. 17th century bird trainers used rose oil to smuggle carrier pigeons until the scent attracted amorous falcons. The laugh flits into your sternum, fizzy and warm, but shrinking fast. You clamp a hand over your chest. Too late, it dissolves into a hiccup. The gardener clicks his tongue, a sound like shears snipping piano wire. Second chances are compost here. He gestures to a rose bush grafted with human molars. A petal peels off, drifting into your collar. Against your nape, it vibrates. Mom's stifled chuckle as you face planted in rollerblades at age 9. The gardener's shovel sinks into the earth, unearthing a perfume bottle. Amber isn't fossilized sap, you know. It's the ghosts of drunk fireflies, he mutters, decanting laughter into the vial. It swirls neon green, your fingers close around the glass. The roses hiss in unison. Anchorette nuns once communed with thorny sprites, or maybe ate bad rye bread. Doesn't matter. The vial's warmth spreads through your palm like WD-40 on grief. A root bursts through the path, snagging your ankle. The gardener tuts, throws a handful of pollen that combust midair. Your shoelaces singe. Off you go, he croaks, already turning to mulch. And tell the Ottoman tea vendor I want my femur back. The garden collapses inward, roses folding like origami caskets. You stumble backward into steam rising from a copper samovar. Steam from the samovar parts, like theater curtains, revealing a parlor lit by candles, tall as oboes. Shadows leap across damask walls, except yours. A boy perches on an ottoman upholstered in what looks like dried squid skin. He smirks, his shadow stretches 3 meters tall, hands morphing into pliers and chisels. Ottoman shadow puppeteers used donkey hides for Carragher's plays. But this kid's silhouette works without a screen. Borrow mine, he offers. His voice crackles like a vinyl record of someone swallowing gravel. An hour buys you skill-stitched hands, but my toll's unconventional. Historians still argue whether Istanbul's puppet masters mocked sultans or just recycled bad puns. His shadow's fingers click into a lockpick shape, identical to the one your ex borrowed in 2017. You nod. The boy snaps his fingers, a sound like celery breaking in a vacuum. Your shadow detaches, slithering under the door, his flows into your heels. And suddenly, you're braiding wicks with precision NASA would envy. 3 candles ignite from your exhale. 16th century soothsayers believed shadowless rooms cured melancholy. They mostly got degree burns. A woman's silhouette beside you weaves thread from spider webs. Yours, now prowling the ceiling, grows incisors that drip something fluorescent. The boy chuckles. They always nibble the gilt first. His real hand flips a scarab-shaped coin. Mamluk shadow guards reportedly weaponized darkness against crusaders, though the Vatican denies the sundial incident of 1249. Your borrowed shadow hands craft a key from wax and hair. It melts instantly, because of course it does. The boy's grin widens. Pro tip: sincerity stickier. His shadow morphs into a spinning lathe, which your hips instinctively avoid. You regain balance by mimicking a tango dip from that Cancun fiasco. Silhouettes merge and split like amoebas on espresso. One bows, offering a shadow chalice that smells of wet newspapers and za'atar. You decline. Smart move. Byzantine nuns once hallucinated baptism via phantom goblets and woke up betrothed to a duck-shaped weather vane. The hour ends. Your shadow slinks back, teeth now filed to surgical points. It pens a love note in dust mote script. Missed you. The boy retrieves his silhouette, its hands crusted with metaphors you'll unpack in therapy. Keep the dental upgrade. He yawns, sinking into the wall like a rejected Banksy. Next time, offer something intangible, like your tolerance for family reunions. His shadow waves goodbye as a compass arrow, pointing toward moth-wing laughter down the hall. Your own darkness hums, chewing quietly on the concept of self-checkout lines. The moth-wing laughter leads you to a vaulted chamber, its walls papered with peeling mercantile ledgers. At a table carved from blackthorn, a skeleton lounges in brocade robes, once prized by Ottoman viziers. Its teacup trembles, bone meeting porcelain with the clatter of a dice throw. They think I chose this. It rasps, jaw clicking like a broken metronome, but the truth nibbled me bare. Historians still argue whether Suleiman the Magnificent's death tea contained poppy or pomegranate. This blend reeks of both, and regret left to steep for centuries. You take the proffered seat. The skeleton's left pinky fractures mid-gesture, crumb-sized bone chips littering the saucer. Its hollow eyes focus somewhere beyond your shoulder. They packed my throat with salt and saffron. It croaks. A waste of good spices, 16th century Anatolian nobility, preserved voices in cedar boxes, though experts think it was just bad taxidermy. The corpse's robe shimmers, its gold threads arranged in a pattern matching your aunt's discontinued wallpaper. Steam curls into shapes above the teacup. A ship, a hangman's noose, a poorly assembled IKEA shelf. You sip. Liquid velvet coats your tongue, then dissolves into ash. The skeleton leans closer, clavicles creaking. I wasn't poisoned, it confides. I choked on a lie. Your ears pop as the room's air pressure shifts. A draft flips ledger pages violently, revealing your 7th grade math scores in Ottoman Turkish. Trade. The corpse taps its cup, my epiphany for say, that sigh you've been hoarding since 2019. Its remaining fingers drum a rhythm suspiciously like careless whisper. You counteroffer with 30% of your imposter syndrome. The skeleton scoffs, a sound like walnuts crushed under a ballet slipper. Amateur, try adding crippling debt. A bead of tea escapes your lip. The liquid freezes midair, suspended like an amber insect. Archaeologists recently found 3D printed honeycomb tombs near Edirne, utterly pointless, but trending on TikTok. The skeleton flicks the droplet. It shatters, releasing the scent of a college dorm after finals week. Enough dawdling, it snaps. Do you want the cursed revelation or not? You nod. The corpse inhales, ribs expanding like an accordion left in a sauna. Its proclamation begins with 7 coughs. Greed didn't kill me. Neither did ambition. It was, the jaw detaches, clattering onto the ledger-strewn floor. So much for closure. The remaining bones collapse into a jigsaw puzzle of poor life choices. A single molar rolls toward you, etched with Morse code. Translating it takes 3 tries and an emergency Kit Kat from your pocket. The message: beware stinging jasmine. Your shadow snickers, teeth gleaming in the tea-stained gloom. You pocket the molar as the walls exhale, depositing you near a marketplace, humming with bottled sorrows. The marketplace hums like a beehive kicked by a philosopher, stalls overflowing with gelatinous blobs in amber bottles. Each vial pulses, some with the throb of a migraine, others with the ache of unsent texts. Your shadow prods you toward a merchant whose scales balance a divorce decree and a pet rock. A chalkboard sign declares, "Today's special, buyer's remorse, 2016 vintage." Ottoman bazaars once sold vervain-infused ink for cursing enemies, but this place trades subtler poisons. Your palm itches, the skeleton's molar growing warm. A bottle materializes there, light as a gluten-free biscuit. Pathetic. Even your regrets are calorie-conscious. A child elbows past hoodie drawstrings braided with what looks like Byzantine copper wire. "Trade ya," she says, dangling a vial of swirling fog labeled maybe in Waffle House syrup. The air smells of burnt sage and overripe plums, the same combo your therapist burns during Zoom sessions. Historians still argue whether Constantinople's glassblowers encoded secrets in bottle imperfections. The truths probably buried in some tick-tock conspiracy thread. You glance at your vial, its murky contents whispering you should have majored in forestry. The girl rolls her eyes. That's rookie guilt. Mine's got 4 divorces and a zoo arson. Archaeologists found a Mycenaean jar labeled regret. Handle with care, though it's debated whether that's tax documentation or ancient therapy. You hesitate. The maybe vial brightens, its glow sinking to your pulse. Clever marketing. The kid grins, revealing a silver tooth shaped like Lisbon's Tower of Belém. "Doubt's the best compass," she says, pocketing your sad little bottle. Your shadow pouts. It preferred the angst. Screams erupt 2 stalls over. A man chugs a beaker labeled third marriage, then melts into a sentient ficus. "Classic," mutters the girl. "Always hydrate your regrets." She tosses you the maybe vial. It hums the chorus of Total Eclipse of the Heart. The floor vibrates, stone tiles rearranging into next week's to-do list. You uncork the vial. Smoke escapes, forming a mini tornado of parking tickets and unscheduled colonoscopies. The girl snorts, doubts the new jet fuel. "Didn't you watch that TED Talk?" Your shadow nods sagely, though it still can't parallel park. A vendor waves you over, her apron sewn from rejected dating profiles. "Psst, for 20 regrets, I'll show you what Patton wore to Yalta." Pass. The maybe vial dims as you walk, its light reigniting when you side-eye a free kitten's sign. Clever little bugger. The market's edges fray, tents dissolving into pencil shavings and static. Time's up. The kid salutes you, her hoodie now reading Nostradamus's caddy. Pro tip: next time, spring for the deluxe guilt with complimentary existential dread. The vial warms its glow, slicing through the fog like a K-pop laser show. You clutch it, stepping into the vapor, where the path unravels like a sweater knitted by a vengeful ex. The staircase rises like a question no one asked, each wooden step fraying at the edges, as if Chekhov's tailor got drunk on ouzo. Your foot sinks into the first tread. It yields like overproofed sourdough. Carved symbols glow beneath your heel. Byzantine meander patterns that once warded off evil, or maybe just door-to-door philosophers. Historians still argue whether spiral stairs in castles were for sword-fighting advantage or drunk lords falling artfully. You grab the rail. Its surface squirms like a bag of kittens. Medieval builders used nail-bending to secure tricky masonry. Too bad this railing's knit from spider webs and buyer's remorse. Step 3 dissolves into yarn mid-stride. Left shoe now accessorized with mahogany splinters. Charming, you mutter, recalling that Victorian ladies rubbed goose fat on stairs to deter burglars. These creaking planks need lard and a therapist. The 5th step unravels entirely, reforming as a hammock dangling over yesterday's regrets. Clever. You leap to step 7, where the wood remembers being a walnut tree and briefly protests its career change. A sound flutters above, laughter like wind through a meth lab's ventilation system. Your neck hairs twang. The 11th step sprouts nails, each tip capped with carnival glass. Subtle, you lie, hopping sideways. 14th century Persian poets wrote odes to staircases as metaphors for divine ascent. This one's more like a divorce. Splintered, unpredictable, and way too long. Step 17 blooms into velvet mid-carpet. A nice touch if you weren't plummeting through its sudden quicksand. Your elbow hooks the 20th tread, now shedding timber like a golden retriever in July. A memory surfaces. Aunt Marge's knitting club, unraveling sweaters to repurpose yarn. This staircase is doing the same, splinters morphing into silken threads that braid themselves around your ankles. Rusted gears wink from the gaps, their teeth grinding out a tune, suspiciously like cotton, I Joe. Archaeologists found an 800-year-old Norse stairwell lined with cod bones, for what scholars politely call ambiguous spiritual reasons. The laughter crescendos as you reach the landing, or what's left of it. Planks fold inward like origami swans getting chemo. Your lungs burn. That TED talk about embracing the journey feels deeply personal now. A final step materializes, its surface inlaid with amber, containing fossilized mosquitoes. Jurassic Park vibes, but the blood inside's definitely yours. You brace for more disintegration, then freeze. The chuckles aren't echoing from above anymore. They're bubbling up your esophagus, a cackle so foreign yet familiar it could star in a toothpaste commercial. Your shadow slaps a hand over your mouth. Too late. The steps applaud by bursting into matchsticks, leaving you suspended midair, with your own laugh still ricocheting off the walls like a DVD screensaver. The air tastes of burnt parchment and unspoken apologies as the staircase's splinters dissolve into smoke, curling into cursive letters that hover like drunken fireflies. You trip over your own shadow, which has begun walking briskly toward a soot-streaked chimney, puffing out alphabet soup. Ottoman couriers once used pigeon networks stretching from Istanbul to Vienna, though none ever carried messages this bitter on the tongue. A fistful of ash condenses into your palm, scorching briefly before forming two words: dearest regret. Original, you mutter, swiping at the sentence, now orbiting your head like a passive-aggressive halo. 17th century love letters often included hair weavings. This one's more of a passive divorce note. The chimney belches crimson smoke that spells why in flaming capitals, singeing your eyebrows into avant-garde commas. You kick a brick, it wobbles loose, revealing a hollow crammed with yellowed envelopes. Their wax seals pulse like rotten hearts. Historians still argue whether Tudor-era kiss, locks on letters sealed passions, or just bad breath. Your pinky brushes a broken seal depicting a two-headed stork, and suddenly you're inhaling someone else's memories. A suffocating tightness claws at your chest. Your cough dislodges something metallic. A seal ring clinks against your teeth, engraved with initials. AJ, the nicotine-stained air, coagulates into a new sentence. She preferred lilacs, not roses. Your eyes water from more than smoke. Between coughs, you recall a quirky Restoration-era custom, hiring professional letter weepers to salt correspondence with fake tears. Fantastic, you wheeze, plucking cursive embers from your sleeve. Now I'm the weeping. A tendril of smoke strokes your cheek, condensing into cursive too elegant for this nonsense. Why did you never send it? The chimney rumbles like a dyspeptic uncle, exhaling 27 versions of the same unsent letter. Each flutters briefly before dissolving their ink, bleeding into your collarbone with the chill of a forgotten ice age. One phrase lingers, scorched into the soot at your feet. You could have been the cinnamon in my tea. Your throat constricts, not from smoke, but the realization these aren't random words. Ottoman love poetry often compared sweethearts to spices, though rarely with this much accusatory paprika. The ring in your palm grows heavier, its gemstone clouding, as another memory hijacks your breath. A silhouette materializes in the chimney's throat, reaching for you with hands made of telegram slips. You stumble back, but your shadow marches forward, gripping the figure's wrist. Twin screams erupt, yours hoarse, theirs like a theremin played through a meat grinder. When the smoke clears, only the ring remains, now warm and faintly vibrating. 3 facts cling to your muddled brain. Silk Road merchants wrote letters on lamb intestine parchment. Emperor Napoleon's wife Josephine once mailed him a lock of hair from her dog. And right now, your lungs feel like a post office scheduled for demolition. The chimney groans, spewing consonants that arrange themselves into a final sentence midair. Every unsent word becomes a brick in someone else's tomb. Your fists clench, unclench, then sift through the ash for a scrap worth keeping. All that remains is the ring and the unbearable lightness of replies you'll never draft. Your shadow tugs you onward, already bored with metaphors. Somewhere ahead, an olden woman spins thread from starlight. But that's a headache for future you. Current you pockets the ring and pretends not to notice the lowercase I dot hovering where your heartbeat used to be. The monk's sandals crunch through frost that shouldn't exist in this climate, their souls leaving hieroglyphs you swear weren't invented yet. He presses the fig to your lips with fingers wrapped in papyrus scraps. And for half a breath, it's heaven. Honeyed flesh melts across your tongue until iron bloom swashes your molars with the tang of a butcher's knife. Choose, he rasps, though his lips don't move. Ottoman coffee houses once banned women until Sultan Murad IV noticed their absence made the arguments less interesting. The fig's seeds rattle like dried teeth. One vow would bind you to open doors sealed since Constantinople fell. The other would scrub moonlight from your tongue forever. Your shadow slaps the fig from his hand. It hits the cobbles with a wet smack, seeds burrowing into cracks like cursive termites. The monk tuts, a sound like scrolls burning. 17th century nuns used fig sap as invisible ink, but your tongue's already mapping words your brain hasn't approved. Swear to forget. He insists, papyrus fingers unspooling toward your throat. You blurt out the first oath that comes to mind. I'll stop double-dipping bread in hummus and immediately regret it. The monk freezes. Historians still argue whether Janissary initiation rites included literal flavor erasure or just heavily symbolic yogurt chugging. The fig resurrects itself in your palm, now glowing like censer smoke. Your shadow mimes choking itself dramatically behind the monk's back. Victorian linguists believed untranslatable words grew like mold in Oathbreaker's lungs. And right now, your chest feels multilingual. Papyrus wraps around your wrist, etching symbols that rearrange into you, had one job in glowing caramel letters. The monk's eyes roll back, reciting a grocery list of broken vows, the promise to visit crack des chevaliers, the pinky swear about the Alexandrian catacombs. His accusations smell suspiciously of cardamom and buyer's remorse. You bite the fig hard, juices trickle down your chin like liquid amaretto until the aftertaste hits. Now it's pure horseradish with undertones of existential dread. The monk coughs up an hourglass filled with someone else's tears. Counteroffer. You gag, stabbing the fig toward his chest. I'll remember the Alamo. His nostrils flare. The Alamo happened 6 decades after this monk's fashion era. Wool robes are so 1570s. Papyrus snaps taut, dragging you eye to eyelidless socket. 23 languages whisper through his teeth. Choose properly, or become a footnote in your own appendix. Your shadow makes jazz hands, its version of moral support. You suck fig pulp from your teeth and lie through them. I vow to open every Starbucks I encounter. The monk hisses, a sound like espresso machines dying young before evaporating into bibliosmia and regret. The fig pit lingers, burning a hole through your pocket. Ottoman poets claimed dried figs could stop time. But all you've stopped is this monk's career as a celestial debt collector. Your shadow yanks you toward a grove humming with misplaced punctuation, leaving the taste of rust and the creeping suspicion that somewhere a librarian just facepalmed. The grove's misplaced punctuation sticks to your soles, semicolons gumming your steps like rhetorical molasses. Walls rise from nowhere, humming a tune your mother left dangling mid-verse when you were 7. You freeze. Ottoman nannies once sang lullabies in Macam-Hickas scales, those quarter-tone melodies Europeans called mournful, while copywriting their own sad violins. Your left foot hesitates, and the wall's hum sharpens into a dentist's drill of sound. A mosaic tile clatters down, depicting your 3rd grade choir solo. Okay, you tell the labyrinth, low blow. The air tastes of lyre strings and burnt toast. Victorian scientists claimed singing to plants boosted growth. But these ivy tendrils recoil from your off-key humming. Each turn forks into thirds, pathways duetting your pulse. Take the leftmost corridor, and the melody gains a jaunty tambourine. Choose right, and cellos saw through the rhythm like over-caffeinated beavers. Historians still argue whether the Byzantines used musical notation as code during sieges. But your current problem involves a bassoon-like groan from an upcoming archway. You whistle through a cupped hand, your shadow mimicking the gesture with extra vibrato. The walls shiver, mortar shifting to accommodate your terrible pitch. A tile inscription flickers. This key changed midway. Blame the composer's cheating spouse. You step on a loose cobblestone. It plays middle C while sticking to your shoe. Fine, you mutter, marching forward like a metronome. The labyrinth retaliates, adding a dissonant tritone as your elbow brushes sandstone. 16th century theorists called that interval the devil in music, which tracks, considering the hiss now rising from nearby hedges. Your shadow slaps the wall, producing a perfect G-sharp that lingers like good cologne. 3 wrong turns later, the mosaic tiles show your mother biting her lip. That night, she couldn't recall the lullaby's ending. The walls hum slower, now waiting. You exhale S-E-V-E-N, Chinese letter laden breaths, matching the rhythm she used to rock you during thunderstorms. Brickwork softens firmament dust, puffing from the mortar. A 13th tile reveals your baby shoes stitched into the pattern, soles worn from phantom steps. The labyrinth's melody stumbles, then sinks to your heartbeat. Even your shadows, jazz hands settle into respectful finger snaps. The exit shimmers, a curtain of moth-chewed velvet. As you pass through, the final note hangs unresolved, but your shoulders relax anyway. Musicologists might call it a plagal cadence. You call it beginner's luck. The cobblestone drops from your shoe, rolling downhill to join its chromatic kin as your shadow trudges ahead, dusting off imaginary sheet music. The velvet curtain sticks to your palms, moth-wing powder clinging like misplaced glitter. Beyond it spreads an arbor choked with vines, ones that hiss as they constrict. A tendril flicks your earlobe, dropping a whispered fragment. She never drowned. Another brush against your wrist. The key was fire. You swat at the foliage. It retracts with a sound like tearing parchment. Ottoman herbalists once preserved corpses with cedar resin, and myrrh a fact that does nothing to steady your pulse. As sap oozes from split leaves, the droplets coagulate on your palm, fusing into a coffin no longer than your thumb. Its lid bears your initials rendered in dead flies. Charming, you mutter, wiping your hand on what you hope is a non-sentient rosebush. A blossom detaches, plopping into your collar with a wet thwack. Its petals curl into a shriveled tongue shape before dissolving. Historians still argue whether Victorian mourning brooches containing human hair were sentimental or just lazy taxidermy. But this flora's flair for melodrama puts both theories to shame. The path ahead bifurcates, one fork lined with yellow-eyed orchids, the other with thorns arranged like cursive script. Choosing the written route gets you a puncture wound, spelling dunce. The vines cackle, a chorus of rustling that imitates children's laughter. Your shadow tries to mime a rude gesture, but its fingers knot into macrame instead. More whispers, sought the well but forgot the bucket, ate the pear but not the core. A beetle carapace crunches underfoot, each fragment whispering lyre in ascending pitches. You hum a Turkish march to drown them out, the memory fresh from that grating busker in Sultanahmet Square. The vines recoil, as if offended by your key changes. Byzantine mosaics depicted pomegranates as symbols of resurrection, though right now, the fruit dangling above looks more like a swollen heart. Dodging it means stepping on a mushroom that releases spores smelling of burnt hair. Your eyes water, but through the blur, you spot a glowworm trail forming arrows. They point to a knothole, oozing black honey. Nope, you tell the arbor, veering left. The vines retaliate, dropping a liquid amber coffin onto your boot. It shatters, releasing smoke that smells of your first grade teacher's perfume. A gargled voice rasps. She preferred lilacs. The thicket parts, revealing a stone bench where a skeletal figure arranges beetles into a bridal procession. Your shadow tugs you backward, its outline fraying at the edges. 23 steps later, you're spat into moonlight, clutching a vial of sap that wasn't in your pocket moments ago. It pulses faintly, a tiny heartbeat against your palm. As you pocket it, The arbor's whispers resume, now harmonizing with the wind through dry grass. Your shadow hesitates, then sketches a coffin shape in the dirt before trudging on. Your shadow's dirt coffin collapses under the first creak of floorboards, a sound like ice cracking over lukewarm tea. Steps spiral downward, each wooden plank warped into cello curves. From the darkness rises the metallic scent of abandoned rosin and the faintest hum of a music box playing in reverse. The cellar air clings, equal parts mothballs and missed opportunities. Dusty shelves line the walls, each holding music boxes shaped like miniature palaces. One winds its own key with spider-leg gears. Its tinny rendition of the Blue Danube conjures phantom calluses on your fingertips. You blink, memories of your cousin's disastrous wedding quartet surge forth, unbidden. A gloved hand materializes midair, the leather cracked like desert mud. Its fingers splay in invitation, palm upturned, and thumb cocked like a dueling pistol. 18th century Vienna waltzed itself into scandals by embracing closed dancing positions, a fact that feels less romantic when a spectral limb taps its foot impatiently. The floor shudders, music boxes rattle to life in unison. Your knees bend without consent, executing a stiff waltz step older than your grandmother's grudges. The glove grips your hand, its chill seeping into your wrist bones. Shadows coil around your ankles, stitching themselves into partner shapes that pirouette just out of sync. A music box lid snaps open, revealing tiny dancers forged from coffin nails. Their movements jerk like broken puppets, yet the melody smooths into something dangerously sweet. You've heard this tune before, buried in that cursed music app algorithm that chased you through last November. Your free hand brushes a shelf, dislodging a box shaped like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It plays a Neapolitan folk song, badly. Historians still argue whether Renaissance hypnomusic in Italian courts controlled minds or just made excellent party ambience. Your vertebrae vote for mind control as the glove whips you into a sudden dip. The floor splinters beneath your heel, revealing darkness that smells of burnt sheet music. Underground ballrooms pepper European folklore, secret venues where the politically damned dance until their shoes dissolve. This one seems to favor poultry metaphors. Chicken wire chandeliers clink above, their candles dripping molten wax onto your scalp. Hilarious, you tell the glove. It responds by steering you toward a music box, spewing carnation petals. WWII spies allegedly used encoded music boxes to relay troop movements. A tidbit that explains nothing about why you're now waltzing with a phantom who smells of pennyroyal and existential regret. 3 turns later, your shadow partner steps on your toes hard. It mouths an apology in a language your teeth suddenly remember. The melody shifts, a waltz morphing into a tarantella. Your knees protest. Ottoman dance masters considered rapid spins a cure for scorpion venom, which tracks. since your dizziness now rivals that time you tried absinthe in a tilt-a-whirl. The glove releases you mid-spin. You stagger, crushing a music box shaped like a chicken coop. It squawks the Dutch national anthem. Your shadow bows, its edges fraying into smoke before collapsing into a puddle of dust motes. The glove snaps its fingers. The shelf boxes slam shut in domino succession. A single music box remains open, its gears exposed like ribcage bones. Inside spins a porcelain figure with your face, arms eternally reaching for a partner who's just dissolved. The melody slows, a warped version of the lullaby your babysitter used to sing while draining your parents' vodka. You pocket the figure. Its ceramic hands leave chalky half-moons on your thigh. The cellar exhales, a draft scattering petals into ash. Behind you, a new stairwell forms, each step creaking the opening bars of a song you've never heard, but already hate. The stairwell's groan syncs with that cursed melody, its vibrations traveling up your spine like termites auditioning for a symphony. Above, the ceiling weeps ink, black droplets hitting stone with the precision of metronomes. Your left hand twitches, fingers curling into a phantom grip around a pen that isn't there yet. A doorway materializes, archway carved with apology templates. My deepest regrets for the incident with the, and please forgive my failure too. You touch one. The stone whispers unfinished business in Tudor-era English, 16th century letter-writing manuals, dictated using vermilion ink for royal pardons. A fact that feels irrelevant until a droplet stains your collar blood red. The pen arrives, engraved nib pressed into your palm by unseen force. It drags your arm upward, scripting Dearest Matthias on the air itself. The letters hover glowing faintly before splattering onto a parchment floor tile. Historians still argue whether the Voynich manuscript's unreadable script represents coded alchemy or some medieval troll's elaborate prank. Your pen seems to favor the troll theory. It's currently writing sorry for the hedgehog incident in swirling cursive. Ink pools around your ankles, warm as bathwater and smelling of oversteeped bergamot. Each step ripples the liquid parchment, sending unfinished sentences cascading. I shouldn't have, and if only you'd. A droplet splashes your cheek, tastes of apricots and betrayal. Medieval scribes believed writing apologies in dove's blood compelled the recipient to forgive. But this ink's metallic tang suggests a less charitable bird volunteered. Names emerge from the walls. Your nail carvings from third period study hall, etched here in dripping silver. The pen accelerates, dipping into your shadow to ink the words I lied about before you wrestle it into a half Nelson. Victorian morning letters used black-bordered stationery, a protocol abandoned when yours truly mocks up a condolences for your cat draft with cartoon mice in the margins. A puddle morphs into your 8th grade handwriting, that cringeworthy poem for Emily Nguyen. You lunge to stomp it, too late. The words rise, forming a paper wasp that dive bombs your eyebrows. The tower shudders with what might be laughter, or maybe structural instability. Either's fine. Your stolen pen stabs a floating I'm sorry, impaling it midair like a suburban kebab. The apology combusts, ashes coalescing into a wax seal stamped with your initials. Ottoman diplomats sealed unresolved grievances in enchanted bottles, tossing them into the Bosporus to avoid awkward conversations. This seal burns your thumbprint, its message dissolving as you gasp, "Wait, let me explain, too late." The floor slurps the words, spitting back a parchment replica of your third-grade report card. Mrs. Lowell's talks excessively during quiet time note glows accusatorily. Your pen scribbles sorry for existing. In the margin, its passive-aggressive font sharp enough to slice deli meat. A breeze riffles the liquid pages, sending a "forgive my silence" draft smacking into your face. You peel it off, leaving inky fingerprints on your nose. Attempting to crumple it only produces a swan-shaped paper airplane that circles your head. Historians cherish Rousseau's unsent love letters, but future scholars will likely mock this airborne manifesto of your guilt over eating Tara's yogurt in 09. The tower constricts, walls narrowing to match your escalating pulse. The pen etches final apology on your forearm, each stroke stinging like lemon juice in a hangnail. Pre-ink era diplomats used knotted ropes for record keeping, a system you'd gladly trade for as your limb autographs. All mistakes mine in looping scarlet. Ink drips faster now, forming a spiral staircase of frozen apologies. You ascend each step, cracking underfoot like eggshells. A droplet lands on your tongue, this time flavored with your father's aftershave, and a wordless plea from 2012. The pen goes limp, its final act scrawling "I'll do better" in shaky block letters, before dissolving into a puddle that reflects every person you've ever disappointed. The tower's crown holds a desk, quill resting on an unfurled scroll. You reach, hesitating as ink blooms where your shadow touches parchment. Last week's fight with Dylan plays in reverse through the stain, his coffee cup unshattering as your words retreat into your throat. The quill levitates, dipping itself in your left ventricle to write what you've swallowed 16 times since breakfast. The page vaporizes, taking your confession into the rafters. Below, the tower's ink evaporates, leaving walls etched with every "I'm sorry" you've ever muttered into pillows or shower heads. A draft whirls through, scattering phrases into grammatical confetti. Your ears pop silence, rushing in like floodwater. One sentence remains inked in something gold and final, hovering where your heartbeat should be. You inhale to read it, but the tower folds itself into a paper crane, wingtip brushing your forehead, before soaring into a sky that smells of burning envelopes and second chances. The paper crane's wings flicker against your lashes, each flap scattering ash that crystallizes into hexagonal tiles underfoot. A low hum vibrates your molars, not bees yet. But the air itself seems to thrum with unfinished words. You step forward, stumbling over a honeycomb slab etched with letters that end mid-syllable. Belove and forgy, bleeding golden sap at the fractures. 3 hives loom ahead, their architecture a chaos of melted wax and stolen street signs. A figure stirs within the largest hive, beekeeper's veil cobwebbed with consonants. Took you long enough, they rasp, voice crackling like an untuned radio. Ottoman sultans kept apiaries along the Silk Road, their honey traded for gemstones and silence. This keeper's gloves gleam with residue that might be nectar, or encrypted messages from a 14th century spice cartel. A drone lands on your wrist, its abdomen striped with tiny Cyrillic characters. Its proboscis pricks your skin, sucking up the word regret from your bloodstream. The keeper chuckles, a wet, sticky sound. Careful, they've been starving since Twitter replaced handwritten venom. Mesopotamian curse tablets often used honey as adhesive, binding malice to clay. You glance at the nearest comb, its cells pulsing with trapped vowels. The keeper pries open a cell, offering a dollop of honey on a chipped espresso spoon. Go on, first tastes free. It glows faintly, the shade of incandescent light bulbs. You lick it, flavor exploding like a thesaurus set ablaze. Marigolds, moth wings, the electric zing of a text left on read. Your throat constricts, next exhale comes out inverted. Yadat Raf Imaklu. An owl screeches, startled by your backward tongue, its wings smacking a hive. The structure shudders, releasing a swarm that spells idiot in midair before dispersing. Historians still argue whether the Phaistos discs spiraled symbols, encoded speech, or just looked fancy. The keeper watches you cough up the word ambassador in pig Latin, their smirk visible through the veil. You point to a comb labeled un, leaking iridescent sludge. The keeper snaps it off, handing you a fragment shaped like a coffin. That's the untold comb harvested from confessionals and drafts, deep-sixed under floorboards. Your fingers tingle memories of 8th grade diary entries bubbling up. The first lie you ever told your mother materializes. Jamal started the food fight, rendered in glowing honey script. A bee the size of your thumb lands on the forgy. Comb, its wings vibrating an F-sharp minor chord. The keeper freezes. Don't move, she's an ancient one. Byzantine nuns allegedly trained bees to swarm invaders. A tactic abandoned after a particularly melodramatic abbess got stung. This one crawls up your arm, leaving a trail of syllables. Ness and Demption. Your nose itches. You sneeze, expelling the phrase purple turnips in mirrored German. The bee startles, stinging your earlobe. Pain blooms, followed by euphoria, as forgotten apologies spill from your mouth. In Swedish, the keeper hands you a thimble of fermented pollen. Drink it'll neutralize the syntax venom. It tastes like autocomplete suggestions and shame. The owl returns, perching on a hive labeled missed connections. Its talons tear open a cell, releasing hundreds of what-ifs that swarm your head. You bat them away, palm slapping a honeycomb panel. It cracks, revealing a fossilized wasp mid-buzz. Scholars once thought ancient Persians mummified dissenters in honey. Turns out they just really liked sweet preserves. This wasp's wings beat once, dislodging dust that settles into the word liar on your shoe. The keeper presses a hexagonal token into your sticky palm, edges branded with a crown and saxophone. For the road, you squint, recognizing your junior prom theme. The token melts, seeping into your lifeline. Your next 3 utterances come out as palindromes. The owl hoots approval, or maybe it's mocking you. Hard to tell with owls. The hives begin to slump, wax dissolving into scented smoke. The keeper peels off their veil, revealing a face identical to your 2nd grade teacher's, if she'd been taxidermied by a surrealist. They wink, lips moving without sound. A honey rope lashes your ankle, yanking you backward as the remaining combs detonate in a shower of consonant confetti. You land in silt, ears ringing with half-pronounced truths. The owl glides overhead, releasing a pellet that unravels midair into your unsent college transfer application. The final line glows, sometimes running toward something looks identical to fleeing. Your mouth tastes of verb tenses and burnt time, every 4th blink reversing the order of colors. A lantern flickers in the distance, its light warping through hexagonal lenses. You exhale a sentence that begins forward and ends backward, the syllables nodding into a question mark. The owl swoops low, snatching it midair like a grammatical mouse. Its talons click against the honey token in your pocket, still faintly humming that F-sharp minor dirge. The lantern's fractured light pools at a stone archway ahead, its keystone carved with hollow eyes. You cross the threshold, linseed oil and mildew stinging your nostrils as the walls yawn open. Portraits flank you floor to ceiling, nobles, paupers, that one aunt who always brought scented erasers to family reunions. Every painted gaze pivots as you pass, oil pupils tracking your sweat-damp collar. A burgundy carpet squelches underfoot each step, releasing trapped gallery whispers. Turn back. Admire my epaulets. Your left profiles better. Your own face flashes in a gilt frame, mouth sutured with cross-stitch thread dyed gallbladder green. Habsburg royals insisted painters exaggerate their chins to hide genetic overbites. But this feels personal. The curator materializes, pocket watch fused to his palm. Subjects pay in silence to stay smiling. His breath smells of turpentine and window green mints. He gestures to your stitched mouth twin. Lovely work, French knots, circa 1893. The model begged us to hide her husband's 3rd nose. You open your mouth. No sound emerges. A trickle of warmth slides down your chin. The portraits lean closer, canvas stretching like taffy. A Renaissance duke's lace cuff brushes your ear. Scholars still argue whether Mona Lisa's smirk came from a bad tooth or Da Vinci's crush on the color yellow. The curator flips his watch, engraved with tempus edax rerum. Time, devourer of things, he translates, then licks the Latin off like icing. We've kept your spot warm since breakfast. He nods to an empty frame edged in thorns. Its placard reads, self-portrait, with regrets, and Wi-Fi password. Your shadow detaches, slithering into the frame to strike poses. The real you tries snapping fingers, hand movements borrowed from that interpretive dance phase in 10th grade. A portrait of Catherine de Medici rolls her eyes, literally, marble orbs clacking against the frame. The curator produces a threaded needle from his cravat, standard procedure silk for liars, catgut for poets. He licks the thread, flavor grimace suggesting expired yogurt. Some claim the Diet Love Pass hikers were killed by light orbs from Soviet art experiments. You suddenly believe it. Stitches pierce your lips, painless but violating. Each tug steals a word. No. Stop. Why? The curator hums Tchaikovsky while sewing your silence into the canvas. Your portrait's mouth blooms into the smile you fake for family photos, edges stretched too wide. Across the gallery, your shadow mirror presses palms against its frame. Its unstitched mouth forms words you can't hear, probably something about updog. You throw your last unspoken syllable like a dart freedom, but it morphs midair into a cough drop wrapper. The owl from the hives swoops in, dropping the honey token onto a Flemish still life. The painted grapes tremble. A mouse in the fruit bowl shrieks, revealing human teeth. The portraits recoil, canvas rippling like disturbed water. Your stitches fray as they retreat. Unorthodox, hisses the curator, watch face cracking. He lunges for the token, but your shadow yanks his cravat into the frame. The fabric stiffens into oil paint mid-strangle. Portraits scramble to reposition themselves. Queen elbowing court jester, Victorian child eating her own parrot. You spit out 3 copper-tasting threads, voice returning as a horse wheeze. What's the Wi-Fi password? The gallery stills. Mona Lisa's smile twitches. Try Memento Vault 22. Rumbles a crusader's portrait, plate armor clanking as he adjusts his sword. The curator melts into a puddle of primer, cursing in pig Latin. Your shadow breaks free, leaving its frame empty, except for a sticky note. Gone to find better lighting. The owl snatches the honey token from the grapes, now swollen to pumpkin size, and drops it into your trembling hand. It vibrates, playing a tinny rendition of Come On Eileen through the F-sharp minor filter. The archway reappears, lantern light flickering Morse, code against the far wall. You pocket the token, its edge dented with owl talon scratches. Behind you, the portraits resume whispering. But now, it's just logistical bickering. Who's covering lunch? Did anyone restock the burnt umber? A final glance back. Your stitch-lipped double winks, one thread dangling like a snagged spiderweb. The owl hoots, whether in warning or approval, you'll never know. Darkness pools at your feet, eager to frame whatever comes next. The lantern gutters, its last sputter of light dying against an oak door 9, shades too black. A brass plaque declares no vacancy in 9 dead languages. The 10th etched over with just kidding. We've got eternity. The knob turns cold as a dentist's speculum, revealing a lobby where dust motes hang frozen mid-fall. A clerk slouches behind the desk, face obscured by an inkwell-sized monocle. He stamps your palm without looking up, the crescent moon seal pulsing like a fresh tattoo. Ottoman sundial towers once used prisoner shadows to track time. But this place sharpens seconds into something that pricks. Room 13, he rasps, voice creaking like a poorly oiled guillotine. Blink at your own risk. His monocle slips, revealing an eyeless socket cradling a tiny bell. Some Tudor inns laced pillow mints with opium to ensure loyal dreams. You suddenly miss modern hospitality standards. The staircase yawns upward, each step groaning the opening chord of stairway to heaven. Your key transforms mid-climb, twisting into an 1890s telegraph lever. Through a wall thinner than grudges, voices rise. Ik heb gezegd nie, Gij luistert, arguing in a Dutch dialect, extinct since the tulip crash. Historians still argue whether sundial towers were status symbols or just giant I woke up early flexes. Your room smells of trapped birthdays, candle wax, and faint disappointment. The clock above the bed ticks only when you blink, each talk scraping your spine. A maid's silhouette mops the same floor tile, forever her shadow fraying at the edges like old film. The nightstand drawer sticks, then vomits a bellhop manual from 1743. Chapter 16. Handling guests who time travel without permits. You flop onto the mattress, springs screeching like a harpsichord mid-murder. A stain on the ceiling morphs, forming your third-grade teacher's face, mouthing, "You'll need to show your work." The arguing couple next door crescendos, their forgotten language chiseling cracks in the plaster. Jaw clench, teeth grind. You knock palm crescent glowing like a coal. Silence. Then a voice whispers through the keyhole. Why Ben Jij? The wallpaper peels, revealing layers of vintage tourism posters. Visit beautiful Pompeii last week to book. A rogue thread on the quilt tugs back, unraveling into the exact shade of blue from your first bike. The clock seizes your next blink, stretching it into 7 stolen minutes. Your reflection in the tarnished mirror ages backward, teenage acne erupting as crow's feet vanish. Flip the manual over. It's now a takeout menu from 2137. Chrono sushi. Rolls so fresh they're still evolving. A knock rattles the door, 3 precise taps. The clerk's monocle gleams in the crack. Complimentary turn-down service. He slides a saucer of milk under the bed, grinning as something unseen laps it up. The Ottoman Empire once taxed coffee houses as dens of sedition. This feels accurate. Midnight sneaks in through a mouse hole, dragging its shadow like a funeral shawl. The clock resumes ticking, faster now, as the room's edges blur into sepia tones. That stain becomes your birth certificate, then a grocery list, then a lawsuit against Pythagoras. Through the wall, a sob, a thud, glass shatters. You press your ear to the plaster, catching a final hissed, vervloeked doise, before stillness rushes in. The keyhole exhales a curl of smoke smelling of extinguished potential. Your pillow crinkles. Inside the case, a handwritten note. They always choose room 14 next. P.S. Hide the teaspoons. The mattress tilts, spilling you into a dream of escalators, leading to a lighthouse staffed by fireflies. Dawn arrives as a polite cough, sunlight pooled apologetically in the corner. The mirror shows your regular face, more or less. The manual's back to mocking you in Middle English. Only the palm crescent remains, its edges nibbled by whatever lapped the milk. The clerk waves as you descend, monocle now fogged with what might be compassion. Next time, he croons, polishing an hourglass filled with hummingbird feathers. Ask for the honeymoon suite. The door ejects you into an alley reeking of yesterday's rain. Through an upper window, the Dutch couple's room lies empty. Floor unscarred, wallpaper pristine. Only a single teaspoon glinting in the light, bent into a perfect question mark. The alley's rain-puddled asphalt shifts, ripples, moving upward like mercury defying gravity. Your shoe sinks into the reflection, finding solid ground beneath the illusion. Stone steps spiral down, each worn smooth by centuries of hesitant feet. The cistern of sunken hope smells of wet clay and the metallic aftertaste of roads not taken. Water stretches endlessly, a black mirror refusing your face. Instead, the surface shows a version of you accepting that internship in Oslo, hair shorter, laugh lines deeper. Another ripple reveals you yelling stay to someone's retreating back. Byzantine engineers built underground reservoirs to withstand sieges. But this one hoards different kinds of thirst. Your drowned double emerges, hair fanning like ink in broth. She presses a palm to yours, the barrier colder than a screen door in December. Bubbles rise as she mouths keep going, a command or curse. Column bases nearby feature inverted faces, a nod to Constantinople's upside-down Medusa sculptures. Historians still argue whether those carvings warded off evil or just pissed off the gods. Something brushes your calf, a submerged clock tower spire, a bicycle frame. The water won't clarify. Your reflection ghost drifts sideways, now showing you as a gray-haired seamstress, now a sailor vomiting over a cruise ship rail. A 14th century monk's diary claimed cisterns echoed with the sobs of choices unmade. You finally get it. The water thickens, rising to your shins with the consistency of regret. Ripples form words. What if? What else? Why not? A fish made of tangled wedding rings nibbles your shoelace. Your drowned self shakes her head, cracks spreading across her cheeks like faulty porcelain. You pocket a pebble, only to find it's a molar from your dental records circa 2034. Ottoman cafe owners once floated rose petals in drinking water to mask silt. Here, the petals are made of crumpled lottery tickets and apology drafts. A child's face surfaces, yours at 7, holding a permission slip you never gave your mom. Light fractures through a dome of drowned hourglasses. Your alter ego points to a floating door, its knob a coiled rattlesnake. She mouths almost before dissolving. 10th century Persians believed water mirrored the soul's weight. Yours currently feels like a wet bandit's heist. The staircase reappears, its top step now a diving board. You climb, for lack of better verbs. The cistern exhales a mist tasting of burnt telescopes and unopened love letters. Your shadow stays behind, swimming laps through possibilities. One mainstream historical fact. The Basilica cistern in Istanbul could hold 27 Olympic pools of water. One quirky tidbit. 17th century Venetians once tried to market haunted cistern tour, but got sued by a pickpocket who drowned in ectoplasm. One open debate. Scholars can't agree if Byzantine water engineers were geniuses or just really into damp basements. The mist from the cistern solidifies into stage lights, their heat prickling your neck like sunburned gilt. A proscenium arches overhead, carved with maenads mid-snarl. Your forearm itches, you glance down. Words bloom under your skin, enter stage left, clutching the locket you'll wish you'd lost. Empty velvet seats stretch into darkness, yet something shifts in the shadows. A single spotlight hits you hot enough to fry an ego. You clear your throat, and the script forces your tongue. I never meant to stay, but the roads here taste L-I-K-E Chinese letter. The last word Chinese, untranslatable, burning like Szechuan peppercorns. Applause erupts, sound waves rippling your clothes. Dust falls from the rafters, along with a tarnished locket. Ancient Greek actors wore linen masks soaked in wine, supposedly to channel Dionysus. Yours feels like a second-hand Walmart Halloween special. A stagehand materializes, literally flakes of sawdust forming limbs. He thrusts a prop dagger at you, handle warm from ghost's grip. Stab down left, he hisses, then pivot like your rent's due. Historians still argue whether Roman theaters actually drowned unsuccessful actors or just gave them scathing Yelp reviews. The script updates on your arm, new lines overwriting veins. Tell them about the well, the one we never should have. Your mouth betrays you mid-sentence. 17th century Italian audiences threw rancid figs at bad performers. Nothing flies now, but a seat squeaks, loudly judgmental. You spot the fallen locket, chain coiled like a noose. Picking it up triggers a flashback. 6th grade drama club, vomiting off the catwalk. The clasp clicks open. Inside, a portrait of that shadow that stares when you're half asleep. Its eyes follow you diagonally. More phantom clapping. The stagehand shoves you toward a trapdoor. 4th act twist. You're the villain's third cousin. Some swear Elizabethan theaters buried live cats under foundations for luck. The yowling beneath your feet suggests maybe they still do. The script burns, exit pursued by self-doubt. You leap into the wings and crash into a mirror. Your reflection wears the locket, its chain now fused with your collarbone. Distant applause fades into what might be rain or static or slow, sarcastic snapping. Mirror shards melt into threads midair, a cat's cradle woven from twilight and bad Wi-Fi signals. Each strand vibrates with discordant notes, middle C arguing with a dial-up modem. Your thumb brushes a crimson cord, and the tavern's laughter outside warps. Jovial shouts, now soaked in funeral dirge. 16th century Ottoman messengers tied complex knots in ropes to encrypt dispatches, their patterns mapping entire battlefields. You recognize one now, a dugum for mourning lost bread ovens. Historians still argue whether these knots held magical properties or just excellent PR. Sailors once blamed knotted winds for becalmed ships, though none mentioned the threads currently strangling your left shoelace. A filament snaps, high-pitched as a snapped violin string. The tavern's mirth shifts again, laughter crisp as autumn leaves, tinged with the metallic aftertaste of jealousy. Your right shoelace knots itself double bow, parade perfect. Not helpful, you mutter. Sailors would have sacrificed goats for this breeze. But your pockets only hold lint and existential dread. 3 threads glow ochre, indigo, bone white. Pulling the ochre one silences the tavern entirely. You release it fast. The sudden quiet hums louder than any noise. Indigo smells of forged parchment and wet dog. Tugging it summons a breeze that unravels your shirt's top button, cold kissing the script scar on your collarbone. The bone-white strand thrums, a dentist's drill set to folk ballad tempo. Touch it, and the tavern's laughter resurrects as sobs, familiar ones. 3rd grade recital flashback. Mrs. Kowalski weeping at your interpretive tambourine solo. The thread snaps itself, blessedly leaving your ears ringing. A shadow coils around the remaining threads, its ends fraying into alphabet shapes. Latin letters, no. Cyrillic, no. Emojis. Trying to read them triggers that 2M brain itch, where memes metastasize into grocery lists. The Ottoman Empire's first newspaper used duck sandwiches as currency in a 1863 circulation stunt. You trade 5 BLTs for aspirin right now. Plucking 2 threads at once makes reality hiccup. The tavern patrons chant your middle school nickname in perfect barbershop quartet harmony. Your left shoe unties itself, lace snake charming toward the ceiling. Hard pass, you announce, stomping it down. The Ottoman Sultan's chief knot tier earned 17 camels yearly, a fact now scratching behind your eyeballs like a pop-up ad. The central knot pulses, an anglerfish lure made of family arguments and static. Undo it, and maybe the tavern resumes normalcy, or accidentally unstitches 1997. Your thumbnail hesitates at the first loop. 16th century, Hungarian tailors sewed curses into noblemen's coats using double-kneed witches' thread. This feels similar, minus the healthcare plan. One tug, a THWUNK deep in the universe's floorboards, the tavern's laughter returns normal, until you notice every third chuckle missing stolen. Your shadow detaches, pirouettes, and reattaches backwards. The final thread frays into fireflies, each carrying a half note in its bioluminescent belly. You pocket 3 glowy remains. They hum against your thigh like muted phones. Outside, the wind carries new sounds. Clinking glasses, a zither's sneeze, someone passionately debating Byzantine pickle tariffs. Historians still argue whether Sultan Suleiman's beard ever housed actual songbirds. Your knuckles brush the threads again, silent now, coiled like sleeping snakes. Your shoelaces tighten once more, forgiving no hesitation, permitting no retreat. The air tastes of split decisions and cardamom, and somewhere, a camel sighs, counting coins. The cliff's edge crumbles under your heel pebbles, plummeting into silence deeper than a turned-off microphone. All 33 lanterns gutter out at once. The dark, so complete you feel claustrophobic in your own skin. Then a sickly green pulse beneath your feet. Your shadow peels itself from the ground, edges phosphorescent, like moldering parchment held to moonlight. Ottoman signal fires once spanned mountaintops from Budapest to Baghdad, each flame's color encoding threats. None glowed this shade, though. Your shadow-pointing hand mimes this way with unsettling confidence. Following feels less brave than lazy, like letting grocery store GPS take the wheel. You step where no ground should be. The abyss resists like semi-set jello, each footfall squelching, faintly. Byzantines allegedly made glowworm lamps to navigate secret tunnels. But this bioluminescence comes from your own silhouette-eating starlight. Historians still argue whether Maimed the Conqueror's midnight march used goat bladder lanterns or just really motivated fireflies. Your shadow halts mid-stride. Its edges shiver, projecting faint images like a cursed film reel. A camel caravan cresting dunes. A parrot squawking etymologies. That one kebab stand from Section 12, God. You miss their tzatziki. The vision cuts out your shadow, now shaped like a question mark, with commitment issues. Leftward a sound. Not the camel's coins, but something wetter. Stone grinding on stone. You pivot too fast. The path liquefies, nearly spilling you into void. 18th century Istanbul had ankle-breaker alleys designed to trip invading forces. This path's worse, actively spiteful. Your shadow grabs your wrist with icy fingers. Metaphysical frostbite blossoms where it grips, walls close in not stone, but compressed darkness. Your breath fogs the air, yet condenses into tiny lantern shapes. They float upward, then fizzle like damp firecrackers. Ottoman sailors believed extinguished lanterns housed jinn. These sputter curses in Armenian as they die witch tracks, since your last snack was that conflicted baklava from Section 7. The tunnel widens, revealing a ledge overlooking nothing. Pure, centrifugal dark, your shadow leaps off first, a suicidal shape against the void. It hits an invisible platform 15 feet down, turns back, glowing smugger than a TikTok influencer at a silent retreat. You jump. The fall lasts 8 heartbeats, 3 of them borrowed from tomorrow. Landing feels like stepping onto a frozen pond mid-thaw. Cracks spiderweb beneath your feet. Your shadow taps its foot impatiently. 16th century Galata bridge vendors sold shadow stabilizers, lead weights for overly energetic silhouettes. Should have bought one when you had the chance. A sound rises, not from ahead, but behind. The clatter of 33 lanterns reigniting, now suspended in the void like malevolent jellyfish. One drifts close enough to lick. Its glass bulges with black flame, the kind that burns memories. You recall Granddad's pocket watch. Or was that borrowed from Section 19's skeleton? The lantern's heat melts your left shoe sole. Ottoman metallurgists once crafted glass that contained wildfires, but this feels personal. Your shadow yanks you onward. The path spirals downward, oxygen thinning like cheap shampoo. Walls now show faint murals. Your first kiss, that time you failed geometry. A suspiciously detailed raccoon wearing a fez. Breath comes in gasps, cloth unraveling from your sleeve to form a makeshift scarf. 16th century janissaries wound similar cloths around their mouths before battles, mostly to hide nervous vomiting. The spiral ends at a stone archway. No door, just a bead curtain made of petrified tears. Each bead weighs a kilogram. Your shadow slips through effortlessly. You shoulder forward, every bead whispering turn back in the voice of your 3rd grade teacher. They're not wrong. Mrs. Kowalski knew a bad idea when she saw one. Beyond the curtain, a circular chamber with 33 alcoves. Each holds an extinguished lantern nestled in velvet. Your shadow points to the center pedestal, a single candle stub flickering in its own wax. Approaching it, you notice the candle wicks made from braided hair. Yours, maybe. Split ends match. Ottoman tradition says final lights are tended by those who have forgotten their own faces. The attendant here looks like your reflection, but with better posture. The candle dies as you exhale. Total dark swallows the chamber, yet your shadow still glows. Reinforcements arrive. The camels clinking coins from the void, the distant zither's sneeze, a whisper of Appendix B from Chapter 9. Your shadow marches into the unlit archway ahead, untroubled, almost jaunty. You follow, because what's one more terrible idea after 39,000 steps? The last speck of light winks out, but your shoes squelch onward, hungry for whatever unscripted dark comes next. The void cradles you now, no longer hungry, just hushed. 33 lanterns dim to embers in the distance, their black flames cooling into starless smoke. Your shadow dissolves like sugar in tea, its glow pooled around your feet, as faint as a forgotten dream. Breath steadies, ribs expanding like bellows beneath a soundless sky. Silence here isn't empty. It hums a lullaby woven from the zither's last note and the camel's drowsy bell. Even the resentful baklava from Section 7 settles, its honeyed remorse melting into the dark. You kneel not from weariness, but to feel the ground solidify, warm as fresh-baked bread. Ottoman sentries once whispered that the earth remembers every footfall, but here it forgives. Frostbite fades from your wrist, replaced by a glowworm's gentle pulse beneath the skin. No gin crackle in your ears, just the soft shush of cloth unwinding from your arms, coiling into cushions of air. Walls recede, the raccoon in a fez winks, once before its mural dissolves into velvet black. That final candle, its smoke curls upward, a spiraling road map erased by your next blink. You trace its path with fingertips and find them damp, not from tears from the chamber's exhale, even stone tires. Your shoes stop squelching. They root themselves, vines of shadow weaving through leather, anchoring you to stillness. Roads end. Stars blink out. Hearts beat slower. Janissary scarves unravel stitch by stitch, threads floating like dandelion wishes. Darkness thickens not as a threat, but a blanket. The kind your third-grade teacher might, draped over your shoulders during a storm. Mrs. Kowalski's voice murmurs enough, and for once, you listen. Eyelids fall, not from exhaustion, from the quiet certainty that whatever comes next isn't a path, but a pillow. The last lantern flickers in your chest, a moth-winged rhythm against ribs. You let it gutter, let the warm, wordless ink of sleep rise, unscripted and still.